Welcome to another episode of Ask Dubey. I'm Devan Dubnyk. Today's episode is brought to you by Bet365. Want to get in on the action for Stanley Cup playoffs? At Bet365, they got you. From game props, player props, totals in the money line, you can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs, must be 19 or older. And we're off to the conference finals here. Interesting finish in the West. I thought both of the series were extremely exciting. Been able to, obviously, following the Oilers very closely. It's hard to argue that hasn't been the most exciting hockey out of all the playoffs, although there's been a ton of great stuff. Overtime in Game 6 against Dallas and Winnipeg. Heartbreaking finish to see Scheifele in the box. Obviously, he's going through a very hard time, and everyone's thinking about him. He played an awesome game and scored their only goal. But those last two games were very exciting. Two teams playing hard against each other. I thought Winnipeg was getting the majority of the scoring chances. Hellebuck was looking back to his normal self. Jake Ottinger was just a little bit superhuman. He just seemed to be dialed. His game is extremely good in the playoffs. I think that's probably the main concern for Edmonton in my eyes right now. I think Edmonton matches up nicely against Dallas, but I thought Winnipeg was getting most of the scoring chances as well. Jake Ottinger was just superhuman. So that's going to be a challenge that the Oilers are going to face. Obviously, with their firepower, they can score on anybody. They can create offense out of anything. It is going to be a bigger step. Adin Hill is obviously a great goalie. He's won in the past. They're going to get a bigger challenge with Jake Ottinger here. So that is going to be a challenge for the Oilers to find different ways to score, to get the power play going, and get to Jake Ottinger. I do think that Edmonton will be able to have a little more room to move out there. I think Connor and Leon will have a little room to move. I can't see any other team being able to shut them down as well as Vegas did for that entire series. Fortunately, they were able to be successful in 5 games because of the depth and everybody stepping up and filling in different roles and coming up big in different spots. So this will be a fun series to watch. If any of the past series show us, it's going to be one to tune into every game. I can't wait for it to get started. Over on the East, a little quieter. Obviously, we all know the woes of the Toronto Maple Leafs and their fans. I was really hoping to have an exciting Game 7, and for whatever reason that I can't piece together, just a dismal effort again. I think people would be feeling better. I know people would still be disappointed and talking it's Toronto, but if you just came out and gave us a Game 7 that looked like a Game 7 in the second round of playoffs, maybe an overtime loss, maybe a 1-goal loss, just something, some sort of energy or pushback. And unfortunately for Toronto fans, it just wasn't there. It was, to be honest, it was kind of sad to watch. As that game went on, down 3-0 in the second period, only 8 shots on net. So Florida will move on. They're the bullies of the playoffs, and so that's what they've continued to do. They kind of bully the teams they're playing against. They'll try to do that to Carolina, who has quietly steamrolled 2 teams on their way to their conference final, 2 5-game series, took down a very good Washington team. New Jersey, obviously, without Hughes, wasn't quite the same. I don't think it matters. Carolina is sneaky right now. They're a bit of a wagon, and I think when Frederik Andersen, if he can stay healthy and he's in the nets, is a very, very good goalie, especially behind that group. He's kind of exactly what they need. He's solid. He makes big saves when he needs to, but he's just a big, solid presence back there. So I don't know. Carolina's scary because they're just a team that hasn't, maybe it's just because we're focused out west, haven't really thought too much about Carolina. But like I said, they took care of 2 good teams in 5 games in the first 2 rounds. So I'm really curious to see what happens with this Florida-Carolina series. More intriguingly, whatever happens if the Oilers are able to get by Dallas, they are going to have an opportunity for redemption against one of the 2 teams that they lost in the Cup Finals to, obviously Carolina in 7 games in 2006 and Florida last year in 7 games. So hopefully, if it does happen, they're going to have a chance to redeem themselves. I got a good feeling about it. I can't wait for this Dallas series to get started. All right, let's get started with the questions. First question is from Yacht Daddy. He's got 2 questions, actually. First question is, at the NHL level, how much does your equipment/stick have on your game? And 2, who, in your opinion, is the best goaltender in the league? So we'll start with the first question. At the NHL level, how much effect does your equipment/stick have on your game? Everything. It's absolutely everything. Equipment is such a unique thing, and you know what's interesting is all of the gear, equipment has come so far, technology-wise, all the stuff you find in the store, it's incredible. from youth all the way up, the technology that they put in this gear now, it's so light, it's so fast, it's stiff, it performs extremely well. But when you go goalie to goalie in the NHL, I know the pads look the same. I know they look like they're wearing the stuff out of the store. Some guys might be stock or very close to what you'd find in a store. A lot of guys, though, they're all going to have their own unique tweaks and quirks about their equipment. Connor Hellebuck's a great example. He's wearing true pads that are quite obviously not what you're going to find in a store. He's got a real bend to his at the knee, above the knee. You can tell they're a little softer up top. He also has an old leather buckle at the bottom. That's the biggest thing, is the strapping and the stiffness, I think, is what you see is a big difference. I didn't like my pads super stiff. I like them to bend a little bit at the top, a little bit like Helly does. And for a while, when Bauer when they first started to switch over to the Velcro strapping system, which is incredible because it actually eliminates, they were really on me. I wanted to stick with the leather buckles. I was comfortable with it. I like strapping my pads that way. I didn't want to switch over to just the Velcro system. And they told me, they said, listen, it is a full pound that is adding to your pads by having these leather straps on your pads for absolutely no reason. So I finally got over my stubbornness and switched to the Velcro backing. And I mean, like I said, the weight of the pads now is so crazy how light they are and how good they work. But it really is, it's such, and I talk about the tweaks because every guy is so different. Their stance, the way they play, the way they want to feel when they're on their knees, when they're moving around, when they're on their posts. There's so many unique changes that you can make, how it sits how a pad turns when you go down, the way it goes on the post when you go down, all these different things. And I think you see younger goalies that are coming up, they're using a lot closer to the stock equipment that's in the store because the stuff is so high quality and has all the technology, and that's what they were using at a young age coming up. They were getting all this technology and all this strapping that basically NHL goalies were wearing, or the top of the line stuff is. So I think you see more of that where those guys are using that, where you get old guys like me, even, Helly's not old, but he's older, that this equipment that we wore when we were young growing up was nothing like what we have now. And even up when I was in Edmonton earlier on, all the way through when I got traded to Minnesota, I still had leather Bauer pads. It was while I was in Minnesota that they switched to the different material on the wrap with the compressed foam printed in a machine kind of thing. And so that's why I like my pads to bend a little bit, because that's how I was used to. That's how it felt. My knees touched together. The pads would bend a little bit. But usually guys like their pads stiff, they want to punch out the rebounds, and they function better. Obviously, if you go down and the pad is sinking, if the padding is squishing down, that's going to be friction on the ice. You're not going to move as fast. I know it seems like it's not that much, but you guys watch hockey, you know how fast everything is. Everything is a game of inches, and that little bit can make a huge difference, whether it's a rebound or the way guys push. So that's a ton of stuff. And then you go to the gloves. I mean, guys are all over the place with gloves on what they like. There's different breaks. Some gloves will close where it's meant to break just with the fingers and your thumb stays in place. Other gloves are more like a baseball glove that will break and close like this. And they could change the angle of the break. There's so many cool things that you can do. If you're a goalie gear nerd, just go to your local store and ask whoever's working there. There is hundreds of different options, which is part of the fun about being a goalie. Stick wise, I don't know. There's some guys will have bigger curves, I guess. I know when you go to a store to buy a stock stick, there's not a ton of options really, other than paddle length, which is extremely important. Obviously, where you want to hold your stick. But in the store, I don't think there's a ton of curves. I know Bauer has the Shadow, the black and purple stick. I think can't remember the specific name for it. It's got a big like player hook on it for guys that want to play the puck. I never had to concern myself with that. So I didn't worry about my curve too much. I had the same one. I think I've used a Roberto Luongo curve back in junior when I started getting my old sticks. I don't think I ever changed it. So interesting story. On paddle height, though, when my year in Edmonton that I decided to forget how to stop the puck, I got traded to Nashville and sent down right in training camp. I was using a 27-inch paddle, had been my whole life. The NHL decided that I was a quarter inch too short, and I had to change my paddle inch down to a 26, which If I was a petty person, I'd tell you it's why I couldn't stop the puck, but that's absolutely not why. However, it wasn't a whole lot of fun to have to make that switch in training camp, go a full inch down on my blocker. But I ended up using that height for the rest of my career, and things went okay. So that's it for equipment. I could talk to you guys for hours about equipment, but we'll cut it off there. On to the next question, question 2 of question 1. Who I think is the best goalie in the league? Impossible question to answer. There's so many great goalies in the league. 2 guys I'll touch on for regular season purposes. Obviously, Connor Hellebuck, the numbers he's putting up, the Vezinas, everything. You cannot argue what he's doing. I think he started to play better in the playoffs this year, but it just doesn't matter. I think regular season wise, his numbers are outrageous. The amount of wins, everything. And Igor Shesterkin to me is the cheat code. I was just talking to our producer before about the way that he skates doesn't make sense. I grew up skating. I had to learn how to change my angle, get my edge, do a little push to change. He looks like he's playing on a hoverboard. If you watch him in the net, if you're bored and you want to watch a Rangers game and watch Igor Shesterkin skate, he changes the angle of his skates like this. He just puts them on the ice and it looks like he's on a hoverboard and he's just eliminating one motion. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he learned it. I think you will see guys start to be able to play like that more and more. Dustin Wolf does that a little bit in Calgary as well. It's incredible. I never learned how to do it. I don't know how they do it, but it is fun to watch. On to playoff guys. Sergei Bobrovsky is looking scary right now. It kind of started a little slow in the playoffs. Still was getting his wins, but he was getting scored on. Beginning of the Toronto series, same thing. He's giving up goals. Now it's starting to look not so good. I mean, he had almost a shutout, only 2 against and a loss. And whatever, I don't even remember what the score was in Game 7. I tuned out like everyone else did. But he's not getting scored on very often. And that's scary for anybody going up against a guy who just won the Stanley Cup. On to the West, unfortunately for Oilers fans, Jake Ottinger is playing like Superman right now. He is just stopping everything. I love the way he plays. He's square, he's big, and he's athletic. So he stops all the saves. He's got a great glove. He makes all the saves you expect him to, but he is completely capable of becoming extremely athletic and making saves that it doesn't look like he should be able to. So that's going to be a big challenge for the Oilers. That's a long question, but it was technically 2. Let's get on to the next one. All right, on to the next question from Rob Suggett. How hard is it to play in Edmonton with such a passionate and sometimes very vocal and critical fan base? And how does the Edmonton media compare to other places you've played? It's a good question. It's obviously always one that gets asked. And the answer is it is difficult, but it's a good difficult. I always go back. Do you want to be anonymous? Do you want to go play somewhere that nobody cares? Or do you want to play in Edmonton where everybody cares, where you're going to get both sides of it? And some people would choose anonymous. Some people would rather go play in Arizona when it was there, or in Florida, or somewhere where they can just go play hockey and people don't care. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's built differently. There's different people, but there are people that also would rather play in an Edmonton or a Toronto or in New York City, or these fan bases where you are front and center and you are the spotlight. And then when it comes to goaltending, Toronto's similar. Edmonton's the same way. I think with Edmonton, what makes it difficult is Edmonton has Connor and Leon. And these guys obviously put up absurd numbers. The goal scoring is never going to be an issue. Even on off nights, goal scoring is never an issue. So when the Oilers are not winning, you're never going to point to offense. So it always goes to defense and ultimately back on the goaltenders. And not having, a big name goaltender. Obviously, Stu Skinner is working his way up there to get to that. And he's still young. He's a very young goalie. And he wants to get to that name. And he was in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals last year. So he's working away. In the last 2 games, he's looked great. So hopefully he can piece that together and, cement a Stanley Cup. And then maybe people will stop. But it is difficult because they do look back on the goalies, and that can start to affect the way you play. Listen, we're all people, and it is very hard when you do start to struggle. You can't get away from it. I think that's the biggest part, is that you just can't get away from it. I remember my year that I struggled there and ended up getting traded. It was a complete nightmare. I could not escape thinking about it. It's everywhere around you. your friends, even if you don't talk about it, you're in the city, everybody knows it. I remember being on the road. We were playing the Islanders, and I went to a movie for like 2 hours, and it was 2 hours that I was able to forget about it. And the second the credits rolled, it was right back in my head, and it just weighs on you and weighs on you. So as a professional, you have to find a way to get around that, but it certainly is a difficult thing to do. Media is media. I think it's important that I think relationships with media are important with the people. It's the same thing. We're people, they're people. If you create a relationship with them, talk to them, they're doing a job, you're doing a job. It's important that you give them honest and candid information. If you have that relationship with them, they're gonna write honestly about you, and you're gonna give them the time of day and be honest with them. I think, especially in a market like Edmonton, Minnesota was the same way, or Toronto. It's important to have relationships because, again, you want them to treat you like a person because you are a person. You have to treat them like a person because they are also people doing their job. Their job is to write about the team, whether it's positive or negative. So you can't get all pissy if they don't write something nice about you if you're not playing well. You just hope that your relationships with them create a situation that they're not going to go out of their way to report negatively about you if they don't have to. I've always told people, listen, if I'm playing like garbage, right away, do what you want. I can't argue that. I got to stop the puck, but please don't go out of your way to write something negative about me if it's not deserved. So again, long rambling question. Another thing we could go on for a long time about this. To spin this into a positive note, on top of all of this, the best part about playing in Edmonton is that everybody cares. And if you are winning and you are the guy, you're going to be at the top of the mountain. You're going to be a god. You're going to be the savior, everything. And so that's the trade-off. You can go somewhere where you can win a Stanley Cup, and they might care about you for 2 hours at the parade and then not even remember what you look like. Or you can go somewhere where the lows are going to be low and the highs are going to be super high. Depends on what kind of person you are, but it's certainly an amazing place to play. Okay, on to the next question from Flares. How big is the skill or concentration gap between having a great game and letting in a couple stinkers? Is it as simple as puck luck sometimes, slight deflections, looking around someone left, and the puck comes right, or fooled by knuckle pucks? It's a good question. It's also multiple questions in one. You guys are giving me good ones today. The concentration gap, it's a very fine line between being good and great. It's a fine line between being good and not good. There's some things that you can control and some things that you can't control. But if you put yourself consistently in a position mentally on the ice to perform, that it doesn't mean you're going to stop all the shots. You could feel great and be dialed and give up 5 if that game just happens to go a certain way, whether it's grade A scoring chances with grade A finishes that you can't save, whether it's pucks hitting off bodies, off shin pads. Whatever it is, you can feel great and pucks are still going to go in. But what you have to do if that's happening is you have to continue it's easy to fall off of that. So if you're feeling good and doing the right things and things aren't going your way, it's easy to get away from that. It's like they tell goal scorers, don't squeeze your stick. You're getting the scoring chances. You're doing all the right things. Don't change what you're doing. It's the same thing for goalies. If you are feeling good, you can't let those games then create a situation where those games are happening because you're not playing well. When you are playing well, the difference, I'm looking at the looking around someone left to right when things are going well, fooled by knuckle pucks. So these are the things that happen when you're not feeling good and you're not playing well. So when you're on and you're confident and you're comfortable, there's a fine line as goalies. If you guys feel like slowing down guys getting beat by clean shots, if you want to really slow them down in the 8K TV or whatever you got, the difference between a guy being dialed and being a little off is guys will leave the blades of their skates. They'll start to go down right before the puck leaves the stick blade. And when they're dialed and you can slow it down, the puck will be off of the stick blade by a couple feet, sometimes even halfway to them, before they started to go down into their save selection, the butterfly. And you can slow it down all you want, but we're talking about a fraction of a second difference. If you leave your feet and your edges when the puck is still on the blade, you're going to be going down first, you're dropping into a butterfly. You're not dropping into a save. You're dropping into a butterfly, and then you're trying to react out. So that's when you'll see guys go down and out, and they'll be late on it because guys shoot the puck too hard and they shoot it too accurate. So you're going to be behind. When you see guys that are dialed, that shot comes off of the blade. They see where it's going, and they actually drop into a butterfly. The butterfly is a save, so they drop into a save. So if it's high blocker, as I'm going down, I'm actually moving into my save. I'm dropping my knees and moving my hand up into it. Same thing with the glove. I'm dropping my knees, and at the same time I'm going down, I'm actually moving into my save selection. I'm not going down and then trying to react into the save, which makes you late. So if you want to mess around and watch a guy, whether he's off or on, that's a perfect example. If you see a guy coming in and out all the time with his hands, that is going to be a major sign that they're not being patient, they're not confident, they're not comfortable with their reads off of the puck, that they're dropping early, because that's the first thing that happens is you start to drop. Same thing when you're confident and you're comfortable in your movements and you're smooth, just like Stuart Skinner was last game. I thought last game was the best I'd seen him look. He was smooth. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That's what Stuart Skinner was last game. And when you're doing that, everything seems to fall into place. You're comfortable, you're moving into something, you kind of feel how the play is developing in front of you, so you know where to look. You know if it's on the right side or the left side. It's kind of hard to explain, but when you are feeling good and confident, this stuff kind of just comes. And you can see the goalies playing where there will be these screenshots and they just somehow find a way to find a lane that they can see the puck. And when you're fluent and you're confident, you just find these holes. You know where to look. You know where to lean. You can feel the play happening in front of you. You might be looking this way and just find a hole and be able to catch one with your glove over here that nobody can understand how you see it. Sometimes even you can't understand how you saw it, but that's what happens when you're feeling good. So interesting thing to watch. If you guys want to pay attention to guys in games, watch if they're going down early. It makes a huge, huge difference, and something that I was always concentrating on myself. All right, thanks for all your questions again. Final thoughts, just looking ahead to the Oilers-Dallas series. I know myself, I'm sure all you guys are extremely excited for it. It's been weird having this gap. We've just been riding this Oilers roller coaster game to game, and we felt like what feels like forever. It's only been a few days. And looking forward to this Dallas series. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a much different look of a series than Vegas. Probably a lot more exciting scoring chances wise. We'll see. And that's why I think it was great that Edmonton got through Vegas, because that presented its own challenge. I think this is going to be a different series, a lot more exciting offense to watch. And I mentioned earlier, Edmonton's challenges are going to be Jake Ottinger. Getting to Jake Ottinger, he has been lights out. He's been Superman for them, finding a way to get there, get gritty goals, get screen goals. Also, that all sets up your pretty goals, which we're always going to see out of the Oilers. Makes them so fun to watch. Obviously, you got Mikko Rantanen is superhuman in this playoffs as well. He's going to be a challenge. Shutting him down, I don't think you can. You just got to deal with him. He's 6'5", 240 pounds of solid muscle with a shot, hands, and skate. What are you going to do? Find a way to score more goals than he does sometimes. There are games that the other team couldn't score more goals than he did, so he's going to be a challenge. It's a very good Dallas team, but I'm excited. I think Connor and Leon are going to have more room to move out there than they did against Vegas. I just don't think anybody can shut them down like Vegas did. So I don't know about you guys. I can't wait. Starts up here tonight. This is airing on Wednesday, so game will be starting tonight when you guys see this. I'll be on pregame and postgame. Look forward to it. Don't forget to submit your questions, #AskDubey on all social media platforms, or drop them in the comments section below here on this YouTube video. That's it for another episode of Ask Dubey. Thanks for listening. Today's episode was brought to you by Wilhauk Beef Jerky. Only the finest tasting meat products earn the Wilhauk name. Made from 100% pure Alberta beef, Wilhauk Beef Jerky is aged, seasoned, marinated, and smoked to savory perfection. You can find their beef jerky, sausage, and other products exclusively out of their Leduc location, or you can order online. Get your jerky on at wilhaukbeefjerky.com.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.